Being black and Muslim,
Yeah.
how has it affected you in terms of marriage?
I'm always aware of it, and I'm always like, yo, what do you think? Like, what your parents gonna say, or da da da. Like, I'm always genuinely hesitant. I was aware that this was a very important issue that I need to be addressed first, and then we can move past this. Because if this is gonna be an issue, I'm out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
when it comes specifically to the marriage of their daughter,
yeah,
religion gets left out the door.
and I'd have so much more respect for them if they were like, yeah, no, and we accept that. Like, we know what we're doing is haram. We know we are putting this over this, and it's something that we're working on. I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I can't even.
But that will never happen. Why is there a rise in Islamic divorces? It seems, in your opinion, where is it going wrong?
A lot of it is towards, and the same sort of thing that was used to kind of destroy the black community as well. The over pushing of the independence of women.
Right.
You don't need no man.
I think we're good to go. Bro, thank you for coming.
No worries, man. Alhamdulillah.
Our first episode after 2 years.
Pleasure, man.
How's things going, man?
Good, man. I'm in the kind of trying to get back into the kind of routine of being consistent. You know, that's one of my biggest flaws with the music and everything is inconsistency. You know, falling into just comfort. That's the main thing. When you fall into comfort, it's very hard to find that drive, find that fire to just do what it is that you need to do and work hard and da. Especially when you're chilling in, like, you know, there's no. This is why stress is good. And situations, you know, that people would call problems, they're good because they force you to move in a certain way. Because when everything's fine, you're just like, oh, well, I'll just chill here. It gets definitely problematic. So alhamdulillah, I'm in a good place now in terms of kind of like working and consistency.
Just doing more like just because you know what it is, because I had the same thing, bro. Like, I was consistent with my podcast and then I just stopped. And obviously you're never gonna gain anything positive like that. There has to be some kind of consistency. And also your fan base, like, or the people that support you, they'll just switch off like that because you've not released much. But talking about music, I debated this topic with your brother. We don't have to get too into it.
Okay.
But in your opinion, because I see me personally.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
Nah, it's cool, bro.
I tried on the low to mute it, but I pressed
it's cool.
How do you mute an Apple Watch?
There should be a little bell.
Is it that? Okay, I've got it. Sorry about that.
Nah, it's cool.
You've debated this with my brother.
Debate this with your brother. Because obviously I see you as like original from, like, you're not a new rapper in the UK, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I probably came across you in like 2014.
Yeah, that's before I was even doing anything. Yeah, that's crazy.
Before Undine came out.
Yeah.
Because I know that was like.
I wasn't even making. Like, do you remember what the first what it might have been? No, I don't want to put you on the spot. But like, was it like?
I think it was even SoundCloud, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't even like Islamic music.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah,
okay. That's what I was checking.
Yeah. So that's why I want to ask you this, because, like, you know how you've seen the scene transition and stuff.
Yeah.
For you, who's the best rapper that's ever come out of the UK?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I argued this with your brother, and he had a particular person, which I'm not going to say who it is yet, because I'm going to wait for you.
It's definitely not going to be the same, but yeah.
I don't disagree necessarily with him.
Yeah.
Because when I tell you, you'll understand why. I just had a different person.
Right.
But before I tell you who I think, I just quickly want to know, before we really get into this podcast.
Well, I don't know, because you got to factor a lot of things into the equation. So what we talk about rap skill, or we talk about artistry, or we talk about everything packaged into a...
This is why I like asking you.
Yeah.
Because anyone would just turn around and be like, this guy, you don't know the criteria,
so
you don't know what...
I guess, I mean, I don't watch football, but I guess football is the same thing. Like, you have to factor in different things, like, I don't know, like how well... whatever you have to factor in, you think about who's the best. Is it Messi? Is it Ronaldo? Is it Maradona or whatever?
Okay, now that you asked that, let's split it.
Okay, yeah.
Greatest lyricist. But then greatest as a package. So let's say lyricism, commercial success, cadence, and, you know, or the whole package.
Okay,
who would you say?
So in terms of lyricism, it's definitely gonna have to be like, and that doesn't even necessarily mean that it's someone that I listen to a lot. But in terms of just pure lyricism, it might have to be somebody like. A Wretch 32.
Thank you.
Or
that's if Uma's watching. Yeah,
because now you're saying lyricism.
Thank
so
you.
You're not talking about whether you like the song, or because a lot of people, and that's very common. People could be an excellent lyricist and they don't make good songs.
Yeah.
But in terms of just bars, and you listen to the bars, then, you know, I probably it'd have to be, I'm thinking who else would be in that conversation. Possibly a Kane.
Wretches are Nas. I'm going to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
that
yeah. I mean,
far.
that's probably the closest comparison UK wise. I mean, Kano would probably get an honourable mention. Yeah. I think I'd have to think about it a bit longer. 'Cause like I say, we probably could talk about this for a long time. In terms of commercial success, there is no. In terms of like the other side, because now we're talking about whole package. There's nobody even close to what I'm about to say. And if you've got a different opinion, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes the obvious answer is the answer that people don't want to say. It's like, oh, well, of course you say that or whatever. No, it's the obvious answer because it's obvious. I'm telling you, in terms of crossing over to the US, no one is even close to doing what Central C is doing right now. Okay. There's no way. Skepta ain't done it. Dave has not done it. Gigs ain't done it. They're not close.
It's funny you say
remotely.
Skepta because Umi picked Skepta. That's why I wasn't
angry. It's just a cool answer, like, yeah, Skepta, like, and not to take anything from Skepta, Love Scott, the big fan, bro. You're not even scratching the surface as to what Central C is doing right now.
I don't want to get too much into it. The last thing I'll say about that is I think in this era, it's a good time for someone like Central C because of how prominent social media is.
Yeah.
You're a rapper from back in the day. How hard was it to get 1 million views back in the day?
Oh, that was like, yeah.
You had a couple,
a
handful that hit it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at like a personal mixtape that I really like, Pure Coke Volume 1, K-Coke's mixtape, half of the songs are American beats. So we didn't even have producers that rappers necessarily trusted fully. I just feel like the social media era, it suits someone like that. But then you have a Wretch who can jump on DBE.
Yeah, and he's kind of singing nowadays, isn't he? Like, he's kind of doing hooks and stuff. Yeah,
he's on a DBE song. He's the best on the song. So he's messing with the new lot, and this is a guy 05, 06, 07.
Originators.
Longevity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm good. I'm glad we agree with that.
Who was your best commercial?
Wretch is the best ever, like we've ever had in this country, like ever.
But not commercial success though.
I mean, he went
and branding and all these other things like this, because that's the other kind of. You know what I'm saying?
I think obviously there's like the 6 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And then you kind of average it out. I feel like it's Wretch because he did go a little bit commercial.
But as much as as any UK, like when Chipmunk had his little run commercial, Skepta had his run. Everyone was there. And Wretch, okay, he obviously did well. Some of them songs were really big things. But in terms of like affecting culture, because I feel that's what takes the... and he did 1,000,000%, of course, in terms of what he did, and that's why it could be, you can even possibly say he's like one of the GOATs or whatever, because putting that initial work in the beginning, laying the kind of the groundwork for people to come after him. So you could definitely say that. But just as me as as an observer, not even me as a musician, as a fan, it's like, because I knew about Central C when he was like 14 years old. I was following him from time back.
Yeah, I remember them tunes.
And that's why it was so interesting when he switched to rap and it just kind of took off like that. And again, so it's just like it's just a matter of fact. Nobody's just dropped a song which has done what it's done in America, like Doja Cat or Doja, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I know which song. Cool. The one that went viral on TikTok.
Homophobic one, yeah, that one. And it's not just so. And what's also interesting is that he's not even trying to be American. Because sometimes you might have to sacrifice.
I hear it.
The British. Man's 1,000,000% from London, so he's maintaining that as well, and then still. He's on tour with Drake now, isn't he? Like,
I hear it.
He's not the UK supporting act when Drake comes. No, he's on tour with Drake in America. So, bro, like, you just have to just give the flowers, innit?
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back to the rap thing because that's how I'm gonna bring your thing into it. But that was just kind of like I just wanted to gauge your perspective on that. How did the gym thing start? Because I remember you.
How much you gonna go gym?
Being quite slim.
Yeah.
Well, chilling with people like Lax. What the hell would you expect?
Yeah, man. It was just that, you know what? It's just 1,000,000%. I can't even really take any credit for this. Is just the steroids. I'm joking. No, it's I just moved to an area. I moved to Slough, and there was a famous bodybuilding gym opposite where I lived, where I just moved to. And when you move to a new house, you're already in that. You're susceptible to adopting new. Kind of maybe things I might start walking because there's a nearby park.
Yeah.
Or if you say there's I don't know, if you've got a balcony, you didn't have one before, you might start having coffees in the morning because of the change of scenery. So there's this bodybuilding gyms opposite. When I say opposite, I mean like if I sat on my balcony, I can hear the weights clanging.
Wow.
So it's like, in terms of motivation to go, it's like, it's just there. Do you know what I mean? It was so easy to go. There's that. There was the fact that it was a bodybuilding gym as well. So the environment is like, for me, I really like it. So it's like, it's the kind of like high testosterone, really kind of guys pushing themselves, trying to go to the next level. And that as well. Also, so I was like, all these things that could just match perfectly. I met a brother in there called Ghost. And I just think I asked him one time just to spot me. And then he found out that we found out that we were both Muslim. Then we was like, then I said, listen, yo, because he's a personal trainer, incredible shape. I was like, bro, let me know when you train here, because he was the personal trainer at that gym. Let me know when you train here. I'm coming with you. So it became a social thing because I would just go chill with him, and it was also easy to do. Get out the house for like an hour,
True,
hour and a half, and then before I knew it, I was like, bro, I'm actually kind of, maybe 3, 4, 5 months in, I was like, oh, I'm actually seeing gains now. So because the positive effect of that made me kind of work harder, and the working harder gave more results, and the results made me motivate. So it just kind of went like that. But it was all very haphazard. Like, it's not like I was like, I was grinding, I was walking 5 miles to the gym every day because I needed to make this, you know what I mean? Like, so I can't even really talk to people that, when they say they want to make a change, because so many things worked in my favor to kind of, and now it's like, obviously, like, even after this, like I say, I'm going to go gym after this, but it's not even something like, because I'm so disciplined, I go, it's just a part of my day. It's just,
does it make you feel, like, do you feel better? Like, not just physically, but mentally, is it, because there's this kind of like, red pill kind of thing going around of like gym and be strong and it will help you with everything else in life and X, Y, Z. And do you feel like, obviously from a physical sense it has,
I think,
but like mentally?
I think, maybe self-esteem wise, if because I never really had any self-esteem issues before. I was always aware that I was very skinny, but it never really kind of played on my mind. Maybe on the once every month I might be like, but it wasn't that deep. But now, again, it's given me, it gives me more confidence. It helps relieve a bit of stress. I think the red pill thing on kind of TikTok is maybe taking it a bit too far. Like, sometimes, I'm in the gym and I'm battling demons and this. I'm not saying that not everybody isn't doing it, but it's like, you go in the gym, you lift a few weights, you go home. Do you know what I mean?
It's a strange trend, right?
Yeah, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of kind of birth from that disenfranchised young men that, maybe have a difficult time with women, or, they're maybe getting bullied. So they use this as an outlet, but then there's still that frustration, maybe a little bit of malice or whatever in them. So it comes out and they're like, because we've got to do this, because forget everybody else. Like, you just sound a bit hurt. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, like, if that's something that's kind of, that can start the path to them hopefully healing themselves, then, it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, fair enough. We'll go back to the rap thing, because when I used to listen to you, it was more kind of like, wasn't nasheeds per se. It was just normal music, but like the content. And obviously, you put a video the other day, which I quite like the way, because I'm quite sarcastic as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the way you've done that, in a sense where you're not gonna show like, I'm angry about this, I'm upset, and
that's the first time I've ever responded to anything, really.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too.
Yeah. I know you did that because Umar told me to do it as well.
Oh, really?
Well, no, I thought he told me to. I thought he told me to do it. He actually said like, you should just like make the video, not you talking it, just like as a matter of fact. But I thought he meant me do the green screen thing and da. So when I put it out, I was like, I didn't mean you do it, I meant this. But I was like, you know what, it's out now. And then I think it started a good conversation, and it raised kind of awareness of definitely an underlying issue that no one talks about.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to get into like the concept of music and whether it's allowed or not. Clearly, we know there's a difference of opinion there, and that just is what it is.
But that's the thing though, even like, clearly we know that a lot of people, they don't acknowledge as it. That's why they get so angry in the comments, because they don't even know that there is a valid difference of opinion.
Yeah.
And even the scholars, and one artist, from America, he messaged me yesterday, he's a Muslim artist, and he was saying, it's actually a big problem, because you can't deny that a lot of the issue, they're like, especially if they're representing a community, to a degree, they are, I don't want to say controlled by that community, but they know that if they say the wrong thing, they could get cancelled, or something about their life could be affected negatively. So that's always going to be a motivating factor when it comes to I mean, whether or not they give into it or not, it's always going to be present in their mind. Like, if I say this, they might be. But when it comes to Islam and speaking the truth is the truth, right? It's not about like, oh, I don't want to say this because, or So what the situation now is regarding that, any scholar that's like or shape that's truly like studied and has a good breadth of knowledge, breadth of knowledge in regards to like all the difference of opinions and all the shape of the traditional and back then, they will know without a doubt there is a valid difference of opinion.
Okay.
What they're doing, and this, whether this is a pro or a con, I don't know. They know that if they let people know that it's difference of opinion, like with loads of things, people praying like this, people praying like this, so many differences of opinion. But if they, I think, and again, we'll assume that it's for a good cause, and it most likely is. If we tell people that there's valid difference, people are going to go crazy and start listening to music. So to prevent that harm, we're not going to speak and say this is and because of that, only the voices that say, oh, it's completely impermissible, and there's they say it's ijma where all of the scholars agree. No, they don't. Like, if you only know them scholars, then you will say it's ijma. Because for you to say it's consistent, there's not one scholar out there, you're telling me you know every scholar and you know what they've all said. It's mad. I was having this conversation with a guy in what's that main Regent's Park Mosque, and he came up and he's telling me this and he's talking about and I was calmly telling him like, oh yeah, well this person didn't agree with that, and he's like, no, it's not. It's like every person said this. I said, when you say every person or every sect, you're telling me that you know everything. It's like when if you give someone a new opinion in Islam or something more specifically they haven't heard before, and they go, I haven't heard that before. It's like, if I'm in a room full of doctors and they go, oh, did you know that the best way to do eye cataract surgery is to use the left peninsular vein and then I go, I've never heard of that before. Of course I've never heard about it because I'm not at that level of doctors and all of what they know. Only people that can say the kind of wild statement of I've never heard that before is somebody that is most likely dedicated themselves to the deen, studied all of it from Yemen to Mauritania to Saudi to this, got it all, and then now they have a comprehensive sort of thing, and then can say I've never heard of that before.
Right.
But the problem is Shaheed 629 is saying I've never
with no display picture.
You know what I mean? No display picture.
Yeah, no display
I've never heard of this before. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Do you know what? Did you used to get backlash like this back then? The reason I asked that because I don't think it's a new. I don't want to say trend. I don't think it's a new thing where people are belittling artists and stuff. I feel like it's always been like that. Because back then you were, I wouldn't say more popular than now, but you were getting a lot of views back then, like millions. This is like 2015. Okay. Right. Yeah. On Dean times.
Oh, then okay. Yeah.
So
I was still getting backlash then.
Okay.
Because but that was the even more conservative audience that was saying even this is haram. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I was saying it before, and that like that's kind of the reason why I went to start using music because they were saying, oh, this is haram, and scaring me essentially because I didn't really have a lot of knowledge of the deen. I was looking into it like, right, is it like I don't want to do something that's going to take me to the fire. I'm researching, I'm going out, I'm seeing with scholars. I'm like, it's actually not the way that they're saying it. So, but through my research, I found out it's not actually the case. That this is 100% completely like this. Again, not to negate that there's a valid difference of opinion, which there is. So, like, I always say if someone was to say, oh, I believe it needs to be haram, I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah. I don't have a problem when they go, oh, it's categorically haram, and you can't even say there's a difference of opinion
because you and your brother, they're not reverts, are you?
No, we're born.
You were born.
Our parents are born Muslim.
Okay. Are your parents?
And sorry, parents are reverts.
Right.
We were born Muslim.
Yeah. So because obviously, like the way I've studied, everyone's born Muslim, and that's why there's revert, not convert.
Yeah.
But it's like, so you were born Muslim like everyone else, but you're born into a Muslim household as well, rather than reverting back.
Yeah, you could say a Muslim household, but it was because we grew up with our mom. It was and she's like I say, just an Irish British woman. It was just kind of like it was. Albeit, maybe sometimes we'd go Jumma on Friday. Our mum would fast. We'd see her fast in Ramadan, and then when we kind of got older, then we'd start doing it. But it was very much just like we'd do things every now and then. I wouldn't say it was like I don't even know what. But when you think about a typical Muslim household, like maybe like the praying was always going on. My mum would just pray in her room, sort of by herself. She very much kind of just let us kind of. Come to the deen. But even always letting us know to be proud about being a Muslim, and we'd have like ayat and hadith that are put on the wall and stuff. But it was very much kind of like do it at your own pace.
The reason that I mentioned that on the pod is because I don't think people know that.
No,
I didn't know
yeah,
that. So before I met you and your brother,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were reverts. Just
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Get into that because of the whole perception, and we'll get into that. Just obviously, kind of because the conversation's heading that way anyway. There's obviously that term everyone knows of, like the Haram Police kind of term.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been around like for forever, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think like that stems from? Because the reason I asked that is because I've always been into like knowledge in Islam, knowledge in general. Like I got a bag of Islamic books there. Like, obviously I don't want to generalize, but I don't really see it as much in other communities. Like when I go, for instance, on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Or on an Instagram post of a pastor saying some stuff, I don't really see them like belittling each other as much in the comments.
That's true.
Obviously, look, this is just my experience. I'm not saying that, you know, this is concrete and, you know, but I just don't see it as much with them. With them, I see it more like, oh, I don't agree with you because X, Y, Z. But in this side, our side, kind of this side of the community, it feels very like attacking each other.
Yeah. I think it's to do with, and maybe it's even like a positive in a way, is the fact that because it's a faith that, okay, how do I word this? It's a faith that, for the most part, and kind of wise people actually care about. Like its participants vividly care about, not vividly, actively care about, as opposed to like if you just take a random Christian off the street, right? It's not like, yo, we gotta go church on Sunday. And you will find them, of course. They do exist. Your average one though, it's like, yeah, I guess Jesus, God, and like if you press them on anything, they're not gonna have in most cases, they're not gonna have a significant amount of knowledge about what it is that they're following.
So not to cut you off, sorry, do you feel like it's more to do with because we're so passionate about our faith, it's why we, I guess, ridicule so much because we love it so much? Because obviously without ridiculing, you can't improve, right?
I mean, there are other ways to improve, but it's understandable when you're passionate about something. Look at like Call of Duty, like the golden days in lockdown, in Warzone, bro. Some of the conversations that we were having in our teams, you'd think like it was like our lives were on the line. Because like we really, and I don't want to compare Call of Duty to Islam,
of course.
But it's the concept of passion and really caring about it, even if it's for a few moments. The emotions are gonna come out. Like you can have real arguments. Like me and I don't want to call him out, but me and Lats, I'll be screaming at man. You know, if he like left me on the battlefield and he's gone off doing something, I'm feeling genuine anger towards him. But it's obviously silly. But now take away something like religion, bro. If you are not if you have not dealt with certain things within your own heart, it's gonna get ugly, right? If you just take the religion as it is, and it's like, because you know that there's a hadith that says the person with arrogance in their heart, or even a mustard seed's way of arrogance, won't even smell the garden. Some of the scholars say that actually makes it wajib for you to learn about the diseases of the heart. So, you know, jealousy, greed, envy, these sort of things, because it's to do with your heart. Like, you know, there's another hadith that says, you know, verily the heavens and earth do not contain God, but, you know, except nothing in the heavens and earth can contain God except the heart of a believing servant. So the issues with the heart is very, very deep, and people just kind of overlook it. It's like, okay, we'll kind of work it. It's like, no, if that's faulty, like in the other hadith where it says, you know, that verily there's an organ within the human body, then if it's corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. If it's pure, the whole body is pure. And obviously it's the heart that's being referred to. So if your heart is not, if you're not worked on your heart, or even bothered trying to polish it, right? Because it's the heart that reflects the, you know, obviously Allah has his attributes, you know, mercy and kindness. But obviously I can be merciful to you, I can be kind, but I can do it to the degree as to which my heart reflects that reality. So if I've got loads of whatever on it because I'm hating on you, I'm jealous, I might still in between be able to show moments of, but it's going to be very like distorted as opposed. But if I worked on it, I'd be able to shine more light what's being reflected into it. And then they say that the brother is a mirror. The believers are mirrors to each other. And if understanding Allah is, if you could kind of say it, as the because we're meant to be caliphs on the earth, representatives of God, right? That's he said that that's why we're here, to be representative. So when I show mercy, it reminds you of Ar-Rahman, not because of me or I have mercy, because Allah is the ultimate merciful. And if I show kindness, if I show patience, so we're trying to reflect these realities. So when it comes to religion, all of that just to say, if you're not approaching it with that at your forefront of your mind, I need to clean my heart first, so that I can reflect these attributes that I'm claiming, that I'm trying to get. You're gonna have what you see in majority of TikTok comment sections. Like,
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I used to sympathize with that view of like the passion aspect, because we love it so much, we take it serious so much. We would never allow someone to disrespect it, and we'll put our lives on the line and all this stuff. And then part of me was a bit like, is it that, or is it because a lot of the people that indulge in that come from a certain culture where belittling and things like this is like almost a common thing? Because, for example, I'll watch a lot of YouTube videos, right? And then when I see a revert, for example, debating, let's say it's an English guy, I'll see his, obviously everyone's good and bad, and everyone's different, but I see quite common that they're very different in their approach when they disagree with someone. Versus, people that are kind of born into the religion and haven't necessarily done their own research. It's more, oh, that's how my parents taught me. So it's, and obviously we'll get into the whole culture religion thing a little bit, because I've got a massive like viewpoint on that. But it's, for me, it's just like, is it passion, or is it just these people attack people because they're just their culture's like that?
Passion in and of itself, because you could argue in a way that Shaitan, he was passionate, and he actually, because he was the best jinn out there, so high that he would be able to be with the angels, and he was at the head of all that, and he was genuinely worshipping Allah. He was had so much knowledge of him, so you couldn't deny his passion. But that passion was the same reason which made him refuse to bow down to Adam. It's
the reason for his downfall.
Yeah, because he's like, well, I understand what Adam's made from, and it's clay. More specifically, what he's made, black clay. The Arabic word for what Adam was made from is a dark clay, and the type of fire that Iblis was made from. You have different levels of fire. You can have like a blue flame, and different levels equate to different levels of heat. The actual hottest flame is a white flame, which is interesting. This white flame didn't want to bow down to this dark piece of mud. So it was that same passion, because also he knew the reality of Adam, just like all the angels, they knew it as well. Because when God created Adam, they said, are you going to create a being that's going to spread bloodshed on the earth and commit this and that? And then God said, I know what you don't know. The angels obviously accepted that, but the Iblis was like, no, like, why am I going to do this? I can praise you better. I can do. So it was that same passion. So whilst there's a positive aspects to it, if it's not, again, checked, and if your heart is not, in the right, that passion can also be your downfall as well.
Right, yeah. No, I hear it. I just feel like, I don't know, it could be the whole passion thing. It could be, just because we care a lot. But I just feel like there's this whole, like for instance, I gave the example of like people that are born into the religion, and they're taught it the way their parents know it. And it's just like, there's so many cultural things that are implemented in religion, and that a lot of the time I see completely like contradict that. So we'll talk about, for example, your video like that you put out recently. That for me, like you were attacked, but like, actually I wouldn't even do that, because you were, and I feel like you were right in the way that you kind of did it, because I do think it's because you're black. I genuinely believe that, and I'm not just saying this. Like, if you watch like my other content, I always talk about the 18-year-old hijabi girl from, say, a South Asian, Middle Eastern family, Arab family, however you want to call it, bringing home that 23, 24-year-old Jamaican revert.
Boy.
but you see how 99% of the time, I will say for free that the reason that he's denied is purely because he's black and no other reason.
I mean, they'll make other reasons like, oh, well, you know, the culture won't mix and this, and it's not because of that, it's because of this, but it's like...
But here's where I get into it now. Why do you need culture when you have Islam, though?
Yeah, and I guess that is the moment where it exposes to what you really care about. You know, like people can say whatever they want to say, but when when it hits the fan, that's what brings out people's truth. So you can say, oh, I'm a Muslim and this and that. Because you're just speaking at that point. When your daughter brings home a black guy, or whatever, Jamaica, whatever, that's not just speaking now. Now you actually have to engage. Are you willing to accept this person into your family? You can say, oh, you know, and I love Allah and I love his, his Prophet, and but then when something that happens within your kind of culture that goes against that, like whatever of the myriad of things that different cultures can have that go against Islam, then it's like, oh, it's difficult. Oh, well, you have to, and then it's difficult. And these are the moments. I guess, you know, because Allah says, you know, do they think they'll be left to say that we believe and they won't be tested? That goes across a spectrum of things. It's not just problems that we experience in our daily lives. It's also the problem of people that, oh, like, I don't know, quote unquote nationalists or really kind of love their culture, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but anything can be taken too far.
I think it's bad when it contradicts your faith.
100,000,000%.
And there's nothing from the research that I've done, which obviously is nowhere near like how much I should be necessarily doing or how much people know. But there is no like ruling against. In fact, I think I heard Mufti Menk say it. I want to say Mufti Menk. He said like it's better to allow your daughter to make the mistake and to welcome her back and accept her mistakes and that she's made that mistake, rather than pressuring her or forcing her, definitely not forcing her, to be with somebody that you've picked for her that she doesn't even want. Like, that's a massive sin. That's
when you say
so
like
sinful.
mistake, just like the marrying the person that wasn't necessarily the right person.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's kind of how he said it as well. I'm paraphrasing, but and it's funny actually because I did a podcast the other day of a Nigerian guy. Obviously, like 60-70% of Nigeria is Christian, and I think like 30% or something is Muslim. He was kind of like from the Christian side, and I was getting into this convo with him. Because that's kind of what I'm doing a little bit of my content. It's not just like the relationship stuff. It's attacking those stigmas that are affecting those relationships, which we can kind of get into a little bit. But he asked me, you know, what if a white... He said it like that, and I was like, it's not even comparable. Like, I said to him, if a white revert comes to that same household, it's going to be... He still won't be accepted, but it's gonna be way more of a conversation than if a black guy. It's just like, hell no, absolutely not a chance, blah blah blah. And I'll be the first. I'm a very blunt, direct person. I'll be the first to say that they can create whatever reason they want, and only God knows what's in their heart. But for me, it's pure racism. I mean, like there's no doubt about that. I mean,
obviously, I can't speak for outside of the Islamic context. But the only metric should be is this person a good Muslim or not? Because that covers everything. That doesn't mean like, because if he is a good Muslim and if he is somebody that is truly following the Prophet ﷺ, he's going to treat your daughter right. He's not going to abuse her. He's not going to oppress her. He's not going to... Is that not what you want for your daughter, or do you just want something that kind of an aesthetic thing to put beside and go like, oh yeah, I like the look of that?
But Khaled, it's the perception. Yeah. Like, what are people going to say?
Yeah, and it's like over your daughter's happiness.
It don't matter.
Whether she's happy or not, it
don't matter, bro.
Suck it up.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but it doesn't matter because the people back home are gonna be like, "Did you hear so and so allowed this?" The reason I say daughter specifically, there is to the son, but the son has always more leeway.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Like if he has a backbone, he'll be able to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like it's perception. It's it's a shame. You're shaming the family and the family name as if that even does that. But whatever. And it's just like if you're Muslim like you claim, like that's all that should matter. How much deen do they have? Like how much do they practice? Because if they're intertwined with their deen the way that they're supposed to be, you have nothing to worry about how your son or daughter is going to be treated. But then I guess that
exposes about, do you actually really care about how they're going to be treated? That's my point. I mean, obviously, I guess they'll do to some extent, but like, is the thing of how you are viewed in the eyes of people higher than the happiness and potential joy of your own flesh and blood? Like,
I'll tell you a funny one though. So people always talk about this culture thing, culture clash. Okay, cool. I always say fine. I let them say these things. I say fine. So I'll say, if you go to Egypt, if you go to Algeria, if you go to Morocco, these are Arab North African countries, right? You've got black people there.
Yeah.
There's people darker than you there.
That are
darker features than
you. That are actually Maghrebi or that are from people
that don't know anything outside of that culture. That speak the Arabic they speak, the traditions, the music, the food, but his skin color isn't of the same skin color of the Moroccans or the pale Algerians, because you've got pale Algerians too. Why are they not accepted then? If it's culture, if you're sitting here saying to me it's culture, please explain to me why they are not accepted, because they're just as cultural. Think about that. No, but they're just as cultural. How are they not? They've never lived anywhere outside of that place. The food, the music,
everything is completely in harmony.
Yeah, they don't know anything outside of Algerian, Moroccan, Egyptian culture. The only thing is something that he can't even control. Right? Yeah. But yet they're still not accepted. So colorism is a thing. So when people turn around and tell me culture, I go back to what you said of, is it really? Only God knows what's in their heart. But I'll challenge that.
But your actions are definitely suggesting otherwise.
Right, because for me, if culture's such a big thing for you, then you should have no issue with them being with darker skinned Moroccan people that have grown up in Morocco.
And
There's no difference.
I mean, I always try and be fair and kind of try to see it from the other perspective. Okay, so say you have a potentially really traditional, whatever, Moroccan so there might be some sort of, in terms of you're thinking about ease. Okay, I can sort of be sympathetic to that point as to we want to kind of gel with the family and and I understand that, but that is not to say that you could find quote unquote on paper what you're looking for, this, and then it be the worst family ever. You both could literally be from the same town, and it's just the worst combination ever. Just because you're human beings, just because there's no reason that you're gonna like another person. Just because, I know plenty of people that look the exact same. I probably can't stand them because of who they are as a person. I don't care if you were born in that part of the land and you speak in a language that I understand. No, all humans speak the same. Once you can create some sort of that, this is, by the way, I'm thinking about people that don't speak the same language, but you could still maybe get across. If that person and that person can understand each other and they like them and they like each other, what is the problem? What is, I don't know, bro. It's not something I've ever had to deal with.
We'll get into that. Yeah. We'll get into that. Last point on that, you go to the South Asian community, they've got a caste system.
Yeah.
What the hell does that have to do with religion?
That is
what's their surname? This. Oh.
That they come from this family.
Same culture, same language, same everything. The things that I listed. But I just feel like Islam is the forefront for everybody until it's their 18-year-old daughter that wants to get married.
100%.
Islam's the forefront for all of these families. I'm not saying they're not religious. I'm not saying any of these things. Everybody sins. I'm not saying any of them things. Fine. You pray 5 times a day. Great. It's all great. I'm just saying, though, when it comes specifically to the marriage of their daughter, religion gets left out the door.
And I'd have so much more respect for them if they were like, and we accept that. We know what we're doing is haram. We know we are putting this over this, and it's something that we're working on. I'd be like, you know what, I can't even.
But that will never happen.
I can't even. They'll still try and find a way to be like, oh, well, this, because people don't like guilt, especially guilt that applied to yourself. But to be harsh of yourself, I think it was Umar ibn al-Khattab said, take yourself to account before you're taken into account. So the best person to be harsh on it is yourself or your own family or your own culture. Yeah, that's a good quote, actually. 100,000,000%. Because it's gonna all backfire one day.
Why is the stigma specifically or more brutal around black people as opposed to other races? Because Indonesia's the most highly populated Muslim country still to this day. You've got Chinese Muslims, you've got you got Australian reverts, you've got the other side of the world, you got people here, you got people in Senegal, you got wherever you go, bro. Why is it specifically? Because I'm seeing that much more common.
I think
what is it about black people that people don't like? Because it is that I'm with that opinion.
I think that's such a heavy question. It would take it would take a whole podcast series to get into that, so we can, the more niche we make it, the more we can maybe attack it. Because if you want to talk about racism in general, or the more kind of, because it just goes and goes and goes. When you think, and then the reason it goes so far is because it's inherent to even the reason really as to why we're even here on earth as human beings. Because the first act of racism was Shaitan not bowing to Adam. Because it wasn't just, oh, I don't want to bow down. He gave the reasons. He said, because I am made from fire and he is made from clay. It was the first act as to why, and then from that, Adam and Eve, and there's that we're here because of racism. He, on account of what he was created from, a white flame, he did not want to bow down to this dark clay. So that is, it sets the backdrop as to our human experience. So to try and tackle that and say, why do people kind of look bad on darker people, or more specifically black people? So many things that are going to come into it. You know, the slave trade, obviously America's going to play a huge part in terms of, you know, the exportation of hip hop culture and all of these different things.
But like, how does a family? So because I'm an ethnic minority, I came here when I was 2. In '92, I came here. Right. My parents in Albania, bro. Yeah. Like, what did they know about black people back then? And anyone that's watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't integrate with them. You knew nothing about them. You watched TV over there, but what were they really playing on Albanian TV?
My grandma, that's funny. When the first time she saw a black person, this is obviously back in the day, innit? Because she's white, she ran home crying because she'd never seen one before.
Right, but yeah, that's hilarious. But watch this though. So that's funny. But watch this though. They've never seen you. Now you go to Kosovo, for example. They've got them there that work there and stuff. They're there. But back then, with no YouTube, no social media, no exposure to anything, it's like, how is that perception being built? How, like, where does it stem from to build a perception on a specific race without even meeting them? Into like when we all came here, for example, right? And let's say all of like kind of the ethnic minority. The parents and stuff, they integrated with them, worked with them, dated them, did whatever they did with them, and then they had like a bit of a, I'd listen to that because I'll be like, at least you've got some kind of give there, right? But it's like, you came here not having a Scooby-Doo about them or anything to do with them, or never even probably indulged in even a conversation with them. How have you built that perception?
I think it's important to know that you don't need a lot of information about people or a situation or anything in general to build a stigma towards it. For example, like, you know, we don't know anything about aliens. Anything.
Right.
If we saw an alien, we're going to be very scared.
We don't know if they're kind or
if we saw an alien on the road, we're not going to approach them. We're not going to do it. It's just the other. We don't know about it. So, and yes, there can be different types of others. Why is it specifically the dark skinned ones that kind of get it worse? I don't know, but then again, it could be, even though they might have never met a black person or kind of engaged it, there's going to be some sort of, it's not just like, oh, well, I didn't know human beings could look that colour. Like, you know the spectrum as to what it can go. I mean, maybe I'm being sympathetic.
You're right though, in the sense where it takes like a whole like segment on just that, because for example, you're mixed race. You're half of your family is white. You're still seen more as a black person.
It's just a more visible thing you see straight away, isn't it? But they're saying that I will still experience a lot more privileges than a darker person, than a fully black person.
I hear that too.
A lot of privileges I will still get. If we was back in the day, I'd be the slave working in the house. I won't be outside in the field. So it's just not as bad, I guess.
So how is that kind of being black and Muslim? How has it affected you in terms of marriage? Because obviously, or just in general in your life, like
it's never really. Alhamdulillah, I've never really kind of came across. I don't think I have. Wait,
you're quite lucky.
No, I haven't.
In that sense,
I haven't. It's been fine. I'm always aware of it, and I'm always like, yo, what do you think? Like, what your parents gonna say, or like, I'm always genuinely hesitant, especially if I'm ever talking to. I mean, alhamdulillah, I'm married now, but when I was kind of searching, I was aware that this was a very important issue that I need to be addressed first. And then we can move past this, because if this is going to be an issue, I'm out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
it's good to get out of the way.
Yeah. It's literally the elephant in the room. Like, all right, boom.
But how sad is that, Khaled? Like, think about.
You know what? To me, it's not even because even my wife now, when I mentioned it to her, in the beginning. Because alhamdulillah, like their family was definitely not that at all. But she was so upset that I even had to ask that, and it was a genuine. Because she's like, of course, Stefan, like, what are you on about? And I don't think she even understood
But don't you think that's sad, bro?
Yeah,
Not to cut you off. Don't you think it's
course.
sad as you as a guy, the first thing that's in your brain is I need to establish that they'll even accept the colour of skin I am.
Yeah.
Not even because I don't practice enough and they might see
yeah.
through that. Or I don't have the financial income that maybe they think I need to take care of you. These are the things you should be worrying about, not something you can't control. That's sad to me. Like
pigmentation is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole kind of approach to life these days just. I mean, I know there's work that needs to be done, and you need to resist certain things in order to make a change. But a lot of things, like, it just is what it is. And the whole battle in the race thing, and that I know I can do it in my own way in terms of the music that I'm making and trying to affect culture in a way and just doing my little bit. But there's certain things I know I'm just not going to be able to change. So it's literally like you just got to accept it, and that's sad as well. And inshallah, there's people, and there are people out there, like a good friend of mine, Mustafa Briggs. He's wrote a book called Beyond Bilal. So it's the concept of, whenever blackness is mentioned in Islam, the Muslims' out card is like, oh well, remember Bilal was black, and it's like their only card they can play. And then this whole book goes into the reality of how many Sahaba were black, how many of the Tabi'in were black, how many of the the great historical figures, even Moses, Jesus, like were black people. And if you deep it from that perspective, it's not just this one card you can play with Bilal. It's like there's a whole. That's why the book is called Beyond Bilal. So there are people out there that are doing the necessary fight against that. But it ain't me. Do you know what I'm saying? I might mention it in a bar over here and there, but I'm not gonna. It's just too heavy of a thing to sort of tackle.
I'm not black.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like the kind of direction that I have been going for a while is kind of just trying to understand that stigma, that perspective, and
even things like this will raise awareness, and
because
it starts conversations.
I'm not a sheikh, bro, and I probably never will be, but I don't want anything like that in our religion, bro, because that's just not what our religion is about. It wasn't taught that way.
That's what it came to do. Islam came to. Culture is very much a necessary thing that Allah even kind of talks about in verily we created you from different sort of parts of the earth so that you were different nations and tribes so you could come to get to know one another. So there's difference of you guys cook this or you wear this or do. That's the beauty of humanity. There was one scholar that kind of referred to it as Islam being water that travels through a sort of a riverbed. Any kind of dust or dirt gets swept along, but the beauty of the stones underneath will always be evident. So that's the culture, and that's the the beautiful aspects of Maghrebi culture, Algerian culture, Chinese culture. Because there's so many Japanese culture, so many beautiful parts. But then these kind of caste systems and this and we do this and like or whatever it is, Islam comes and takes that. Islam practiced correctly will come and take that away. So the more we get closer to the deen is the more we as a Muslim community will tackle these problems.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think just focus more on what the religion says, and as you said, it sweeps away everything else. Divorce rate.
Yeah.
Over 50%. 43% in the UK.
Yeah, boy. Is that just across the whole
UK in general? 43%. In America's over 50%. 75 to 85% of them are initiated by women.
Yeah, I found that interesting idea. I thought men would be there.
Yeah, 75 to 85% initiated by women.
It's interesting why in Islam there's a lot of regulations and rules when it comes to the woman initiating the divorce. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously still possible if you're in a bad situation, abusive, you're getting out of that. But because of the emotional nature that is kind of connected with women, it's let's not give them that thing to just completely destroy a whole family and this and that because of one moment,
Yeah, true. And I'm seeing obviously the 43% in the UK, it doesn't specify what culture, what this and that. It's just kind of a broad. But I'm seeing a lot in the kind of the Islamic community. I think it has risen. I don't have the statistics, but just from what I see, it's probably something that I'm actually really going to look into as it relates to the UK anyway. Why is that happening? Obviously, I've got kind of my perspective, which I can share after you, and we can kind of just have that conversation. But why is there a rise in Islamic divorces, it seems, in your opinion? Where is it going wrong?
I think there's quite a few factors that may be contributing towards it. It's not something that I think about a lot, and specifically the divorce rate. But I do see the way that kind of culture and even the way things are being nurtured towards, and a lot of it is towards, and the same sort of thing that was used to kind of destroy the black community as well, is encouraging and this might sound a bit bad when I'm saying it, because I'm definitely not, but is the really over, and that's the key word, the over pushing of the independence of women.
Right.
You don't need no man. I need a man. It's more like I say, I've done more research about this in the black community, but I can see how it would still extend out into especially because you talk about the UK, this is the Western world, because it'd be interesting to see what those figures are like in other places, other Muslim countries. But we're talking about the West now, which is very much the thing of like, do your own, get your own money, all this energy, and it's not Islamic, because Islamic is, I hate that word, by the way. I don't know why I keep using it, but like the goal as to what Islam is trying to achieve, but from what I understand, is the thing of family, is the thing of harmony, and that's one of the ultimate strengths of the Muslims across the world, is this concept of family. So if you're, and I don't want to get into conspiracy or anything, but let's say there was an organization out there, or even just want to call it on a sort of the Dajjalic aspect, as to attack a community that is growing and that is ultimately like what we believe to be, the right faith. Let's attack the core of that, which is the family.
Right. How
are you going to do that? Well, if we kind of really push the women and be independent, you don't need this man, and you're going to have this sort of, and it's annoying when it kind of harmoniously goes with some of the narrative of the Red Pill movement, because obviously, I definitely don't agree with everything that's saying, but with this idea of, with the woman being independent from the man, I don't need you. But it creates a false narrative in the woman's mind, because thinking that she doesn't need the man. I the same thing for the man, thinking that he doesn't need the woman, because it's a harmonious situation that Islam is trying to create. So any like ultimate independent, obviously the man is going to be more independent of the woman than the woman is going to be from the man. But that's why men are calm over women. They have a responsibility. It's a right. You got to protect them. So it's a completely different dynamic. And you're not relying on her for money or for the roof over your head. You're relying on her for other things like emotional needs or emotional support. Or did it. So again, back to this harmonious balance. So if you're trying to make either one of them, this whole Red Pill movement is trying to make men feel like we don't need women.
It's a bit of both.
Like forget they're dispensable. Focus on you. Forget them. On the women's side, get your money, honey. You don't need no man. Boom. And now, so the family is such a under. What's the word? I don't say underrated, but people don't understand the importance and the significance of the Islamic family, and how it's largely to do with the not success, but the strength of the Muslims. And if you want to attack that and kind of destroy it, then attack the family system, the family unit. So the divorce rates, back to the original point, why is that? I think it's because of the kind of capitalism and this and these things that are doing it both ways. So for men, go get your get all the money in the world and do this and go to the gym and forget women, because they'll all come flocking to you when you do this. And so it's that narrative that's being pushed by whoever, right? That's, I think, it's causing that split.
It's a good point. Yeah. I think that there's a lot in there that I agree with, and I think that there's because it's a balance, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, there's them a lot doing that over there, them, and then they're just kind of attacking each other. Yeah. And it's just like about finding the balance. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, ironically, devil's advocate. Yeah. And I'm gonna say that I believe that a lot of the reasons for it is because women are now in a position where divorce isn't as stigmatized, and they're in a position that they aren't as belittled for it as they used to be. So you look at a country, we won't speak about any other country, just look at a country like mine, right? You go into like the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even before that. How much influence or how much of a say, like even my grandma, for example, like she tells me certain stories, and it's just like, what could she have done in a village in the 60s, 70s in Albania?
Yeah.
You know, if she was, I'm not necessarily saying she was, just in general a woman, if she wants to leave her husband, how is she going to do that?
Yeah.
Even if you look at it from an Islamic or non-Islamic perspective, we're looking at, this is why I always bring culture into it, because I think culture personally, and maybe I'm being harsh. I just feel like you don't need it when you have Islam, and I think that Islam, like you said, it swipes it all away. Because what can she do? If she's being mistreated, where can she go? Not only will she be disowned by her family, there's nowhere for her to go. She's gained no kind of educational skills. Like for example, in Afghanistan right now, as it stands, women can't even go to school. But aside from that, the literacy rate for women in Afghanistan is 35%. That's their own language. You speak English. You speak Arabic to a large extent. You have that privilege where you were able, not even a privilege, like you decided to do that, but it's like that's their own language and they can't do that. And it's like, how much of it do you think it's pushing a narrative, like you said, which by the way, I don't even disagree with that. That's why I said it's about a balance. And how much of it do you think it's, we are now in a society and placed ourselves in the world where now women have just, to a large extent, had enough of putting up with certain things that maybe their mothers put up with, their aunties put up with, and they just feel like, do you know what, I'm now privileged to be living in a time where I can walk away from a situation and my family won't disown me. I won't be belittled. I won't be
But in reality, like, because even back in the 60s or whenever this thing was, because this is why Islam is obviously the answer. If they were actually practicing Islam, she wouldn't be like the true Islam, you know, because the Prophet ﷺ married divorcees and the Prophet ﷺ got divorced himself, you know.
I can't remember which one of his wives, she was the custodian of the Kaaba, like she was rich. I think it was Khadija. She was rich.
Of course, that was... obviously his first wife was married to her for, you know, a great amount of years. So there's, if you're actually following the faith and again, so not putting the culture at the pinnacle and then fitting Islam wherever it can fit in, rather the other way around. Islam, and you fit the culture in, and it will be able to get in and it will enhance it. You know, Islam always enhances culture. Women won't have this problem. I do, by the way, though, I will be honest, I do put the onus on this situation, when anything to do with marriage, on men. Even there's a lot of, you know, because I'm never simping to any side, whether a man or the. I just
listen,
say
bro, not to cut you off,
yeah.
I really don't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
When I started this content, I took all the hits, bro.
Yeah.
I got battered. Like my cousin's behind the camera, bro. I took all the shots, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I'm some, oh my God, this guy brought, I'm not the first person to ever speak about relationships and a man speaking about relationship. It's been like, but when I did it, it was nowhere near, not even remotely close to how much it's oversaturated right now on the internet, where every podcast, every guy, girl, black, white, green are talking about it. I took the beatings for this when people called me the simp word that you used, and pandering. Pandering was another word. Get a load of this one. He does it he makes this content so that he can take advantage of vulnerable women to sleep with them. I took these beatings. So all these podcasts that you see, even if they've never heard of me, which they probably haven't, I was the one that took the beatings. Because now when you see podcasts of guys, 7 men in a room talking about relationships, people don't get onto them. But when I was one guy in that room with your brother and other people, I got battered. I took the beatings for everybody.
What's the saying? The first one through the door always gets shot.
Right, so there you go.
That's how it goes.
Now it's like like a car wash, bro. There's one on every corner of these podcasts.
I mean, like I say, it's definitely something that obviously it's what governs almost life in general, like relationships, love, this, like, you know, arguably a lot of what the reason why men do what they do is for women, and a lot of the reason what women do what they do is for men. That's the way that kind of things, so it's natural that it's going to be something that people want to talk about. Yes, you can have certain taboos and then they can get relaxed later on down the line, but to go back to your kind of initial point.
Sorry, I went on a little rant there.
Yeah, no.
Sorry,
get it off. But I forgot what the question was before. What did you say? We were talking about what is the reason for the split. Yes, that's it. I put the onus on a lot of the situations when it comes to relationships on men. One, because Allah does as well, because Allah says you are Qawwam over women. He doesn't say that women are Qawwam over men. You have a responsibility. You have it's a lot. It's a lot to be a man and looking after, to being with one woman, to any however many wives you choose to have. It's a lot. So, and the way that the males act towards, it governs a lot of the way how women are. So this is why I say the onus is on men, because if men, let's just say for example, all of a sudden in droves just stop liking Instagram models' pictures, no comments, no likes, no viewing a story, no follows. It's just other women like it. I'm telling you, without a doubt, it is going to change the culture as to what is on Instagram these days, or just how women are. I'm not saying tomorrow it will stop. It will have a drastically significant impact because that's what, women like attention and men like to look. That's each the test for men. So the test for men is to lower your gaze, and the test for women is to cover up. It's very simple. Like, you cover up, you don't look. Everyone's happy. You know what I'm saying? You both have a right, but I believe it starts with the man though, right? This can even kind of go into as to why the divorce rates is going up. I believe if men were real Muslim men, these women would not want to be divorcing them. And what it means to be a real Muslim man, that's a kind of a large kind of topic to go into. But some of the main things is that you do work hard, so that you have you got your finances together, that you are honest, that you are you're not, it's a masculine trait to make decisions, not kind of, I don't know what this, if all of the things that that ultimately is like the Prophet ﷺ, because that's what all men are trying to follow. Being like him, women, they're going to argue with you and but ultimately, I don't think, I don't know if I want to say this. I don't feel like, if you got a real good man as a husband or whatever, I don't think that a woman would, in mass, is going to leave. They might say they're going to leave and but if in their hearts of heart, like, no, she knows she's got a good one, I don't think she's going to leave, because she sees every day what caliber of men is out there. There's in her comments, in her DMs. Like, is it really going to be greedy on the other side? Do you know what I mean?
There's that, but there's also about like when facing adversity, obviously you communicate with your husband, but you turn to God as well during prayer.
Of course.
And this is the thing, like, I did a podcast and the guy was like to me, what's the first thing you look for a woman? He said, you're the first person, he's a dating coach. He's like, you're the first person that's ever said God-fearing. Mm-hmm. He goes, ever, that I've ever heard. And the reason why is because being God-fearing forces responsibility.
Yeah. Everything just clicks into place with that.
Exactly. It forces responsibility. It makes a person really think, I shouldn't have spoke to him like that. I shouldn't have spoken to her like that.
You have that guilt of that third being in the room that just watched what just happened. Yeah.
So it's like, that's imperative for me. And that's like a deal breaker if that doesn't exist, because it's like, I look at it from that angle. But because last point, I want to move on before we close things off. But one thing I will say, just to touch up a little bit on the point from before about women independence and stuff like that, it's kind of alludes to the point that I was making about them being in a position where they feel like now they can leave and don't have to put up with maybe what their mothers, aunties, etc. put up right with. And I think that me personally, the way I kind of look at it is, I would say just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, no one can be how my granddad was to his wife. Mm-hmm. Because the men of today, just like the men of now versus the men of the time when women's husbands were dying in war and they took divorcees and widows especially, as second, third wives, because they couldn't, because the population of women back then, and they took them.
I hear this a lot. I'd argue that if you're talking about numbers and stuff like that, or just like, that's the only reason that you're allowed, in only situations where you're allowed to take multiple wives. Let's just take, for example, right? So first we're going to
get onto polygamy. We're going to get into polygamy, because that's my last point, right? But what I wanted to say was, because I'm smart in the sense where I know how society is now. Mm-hmm. And if I have a daughter one day, if God ever, inshallah, God, gives me a daughter, the way I'm going to teach her, and this is just me being transparent, is not to put your eggs all in one basket. Because if there is a time when you have to question the marriage that you're in because of certain things that happen, or if he passes away, that can happen, right? And all you've done your whole life, which is nothing wrong with being a housewife, because they say it's like having 2.5 jobs, right? But it's, you put all your eggs in one basket. What happens when you face that kind of adversity? Because the last thing I would want is my daughter to then have children and then she needs to be put in a council house because her husband's passed away, or he's been disloyal when she's had to leave because it's causing problems in the household that the kids can see, and all of these things. And it's like, when you have, I'm not saying don't be a wife. I'm not saying don't be submissive. I'm not saying any of these things. What I'm saying is have something for yourself, just in case. Why? Because
also seek out the right man too. Because if you find the right man,
100%.
And don't go on by clout or by how much money he's got, or not say to completely disregard these things, but I'm saying, like we said, if you find the guy with the deed, you are going to be good.
Not disputing that. I'm just saying hypothetically, not disputing that point at all. I'm just saying, then it puts you in a position where it's like, I have something for myself, and I'm not pushed into a corner and left with nothing.
But even, like I say, even if you're following, you know, so the Islamic way, kind of part of the mahar, that what the man is sort of meant to give the woman, is meant to hold her down for 3. So that whole, it's like, that's, I mean, the beautiful thing about Islam, it takes everything into consideration.
Yeah, I just
all
don't
these
know
situations, if it's practiced properly.
Right, I just don't know how much that will get implemented in a marriage that ends like that. I don't know though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
Last point, polygamy. Are we an hour in? I don't want to rush it.
No.
Yeah, 105.
All right, sweet. Polygamy. Because you were on a roll there.
What did you say? You said something to make me say that.
Because all right, Khaled, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Me personally, can't speak for anyone else.
Yeah.
Me personally, I couldn't do it.
Right now, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, right now I couldn't do it.
With your current circumstances.
Yeah. The
reason, if you got 10 million in your bank account tomorrow, it would be significantly different.
Okay, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into this. All right, so listen. I'm not even saying it from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
That's where you rushed a little bit, because you know why? I'll be honest with you. Emotionally, I couldn't do it. Me personally, though, I'm not saying other people can't. Me emotionally, I couldn't do it, in the sense where if I had 20 million, financial perspective, sweet.
Yeah.
Intimate perspective, men can do it. Yeah, generally speaking, men can do it, right? Sweet there, because remember, there's a criteria. But from being just and being emotionally available in a just way.
Just to address, because it's interesting that you said just. There's literally a verse in the Quran that says, and even though that you will try to be just to them, you'll never be able to be just. God is himself was saying, as much as you're going to try, you won't be able to do it. Which ties in with the verse of, you know, and if you fear, you won't be able to just to them, only get one. But no one really mentions that other verse where Allah says, Allah is literally telling you, and strive as ardently as you may, you will never be able to be just. So, and then it goes on to say, so always, you know, do not prefer one over the other, where you do something for the one and but you're never going to be able to get it right. But you can only do it to the level of what is humanly possible, the way that God has made it possible. And also, just to add to that point, it goes up, when it kind of talks about the polygamy thing, it's normally about like, you know, especially the men that say they don't want to do it. I would argue that you are the best people to do it. It's the ones that really want to do it. Yeah, I can't want 4. Maybe not 3. Maybe kind of work out at 1. The reason why is because you're taking into consideration these things that need to be taken into consideration when entering a polygamous situation. Feelings, this, The fact that you don't want to do it, if you were to do it, will be a sign of your sincerity, because you're doing something that you don't want to do. Who's to say that when it comes to religious things we do within our lives, getting married, this, that it's only ever what we want to do? Like, do you want to wake up for Fajr and pray? I don't. You know, I'm not at that level yet. It's very difficult. When I'm up and I'm doing it, alhamdulillah, it's a great feeling. That initial alarm clock, I don't want to do it. But that is not a parameter as to whether I do it or not. I'm not saying, obviously, getting married multiple times is wajib, like Fajr is. But when it comes to, because it's, let's say you are, and I think you are a good man, right? And you're not gonna, you wouldn't, I don't think like you'd mistreat a woman, that if you had the money, everyone would be nice. Why am I going to give you one woman? I want you at least 3 other more, because they're going to have a great guy, as opposed to those hypothetical 3 that you have barred yourself from. What are they going to do? Right? They will get married to the people that we're talking about, like, oh, you know, and they want to get out and they're being oppressed by them, because that's what's left on the market.
Right.
So the good guys, the people that are going to do it properly, that are going to take care and consideration, not say that it can only be done for the people that don't want to do it, but just the act of you being hesitant and like, I don't know if I could do it, is a good sign that you are one of the guys that should do
right.
it.
Do you think though that it's I think this is another concept that just could go on forever, but do you think though, obviously Islam is forever, yeah, Islam's forever, and obviously from the very, I wouldn't say minimal, but from the research that I've personally done, of the reasons why it was practiced back then, and I'm not saying it's the only reasons, maybe there are more and I just missed it, I don't know, people yourself or people watching this can educate me there. Is it something that's necessary to do today? And the reason I ask you, bro, is because what I'm seeing nowadays, right, is the platform that I have and the content that I make. I get a lot of people that reach out to me, specifically women, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's the haram aspect of that, and I get all of that, but I accept it. And
well, I mean, depending on what you're talking about, but yeah.
Nothing like that. But there's that opinion of you shouldn't, anyway, right? I do what I do, but I take if it is something that I'm doing wrong, I take it on board, right? But aside from that, I see a lot of, I've caught my husband on dating apps. I've caught my husband being disloyal, speaking to other women, all of these things. And I've seen the concept of that difference of opinion. I think the stronger opinion that he doesn't have to let his first wife know. Some say he does, some say he doesn't. But do you feel like it's necessary to do now, in the sense that men and the mental capacity and kind of the options and the Instagram and the models and all that we see, do you think that it's just in the sense that they're not doing it just to fulfill their intimate sexual needs and are willing to kind of sacrifice their marriage to an extent, because it's happened where people have been caught?
When it comes to polygamous situations, it's not, women will say they're opposed to it, right? But it's normally it's the first wife that is opposed to it, right? Because the women that are unmarried, living the life of a woman with no help, especially single mothers, especially divorcees, just out here just doing life by themselves, they know how hard life can get, how hard it is to find a good man. Everyone, that's just the whole consensus about TikTok and whole Instagram is I can't find a good man, right? So that's just across the board. Now we want to talk about, all right, how many men even like women these days? Right, there's a whole chunk gone. How many men are even mature enough for marriage and are not little boys anymore? Boom, there's a whole chunk
How many
gone.
have the money? That's another chunk.
That's why I said about the money, because the only thing I think can hold, not the only thing, but like a big factor is the financial thing, making sure they're all good and doing the at least the bare minimum, roof over their head, food on the table, clothes on their back, and you say that kind of deal there to, let's say a woman that's out here, however many years old, really look for a man. She's trying to get on her deed. She needs that other half of, to complete it, just as he needs it as well. Just whatever, just dealing with loads of dickheads. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a good guy. Well, we're gonna use you for the example, And they say, oh my god, oh wait, look at him, it's so soft. And you go, yeah, sorry mate, I'm married. I say, okay, but there's not a lot of guys like you. This is why it's, to answer your question, is it needed? For the right men, it's the most needed, I feel like it's ever been, because of how the sexualization of the society today.
Bro, I'm not saying it can't work. What I'm saying
saying it's preferred. Because let's look at what God says, right? And this is the thing that this is what I always go back to. It's my centering thing. Is just like, what does God say? What does His Prophet say? Allah says in the Quran that and of the believing women, marry 2, 3, or 4, and if you fear you won't be able to be just, then marry one. We already addressed the just situation, because Allah says in another verse, and try as you may, you will never be able to just to them. A lot of my scholars in Senegal say any man that takes an oath upon himself to say I'll never marry multiple women is inherently calling himself an unjust person, and he'll never be able to understand how to distribute justice, because there's the lessons that you learn in that. There's no other capacity as to how you'll learn it. And this is, so going back to the verse, marry 2, 3, or 4, and if you feel that you marry one. If I say to you, Grams, I beg you, go to the shop for me and get me just like a Fanta or a Fanta, Sprite or Coke, and then you're gone. And I go, you know, if they ain't got any of that, just get me a water, right? You come back with a water. I'll be like, okay, cool. I did say boom, Fanta, Coke or Sprite. You didn't get that. Okay, like, I'm not going to punish you for it. I'm not going to shout at you, but like I said my preference. Don't think God don't know how to say 1, 2, 3, 4. He said 2, 3, 4, and then gave the thing of like, and if you fear, not that if you can't, if you yourself have a fear within you that you can't be a just person, right? And you have to question, what does that justice actually look like? Does it mean that if you buy one a sweet, you got to buy all? That's not necessarily how it is, because all women are different. But so if that's the case, then you marry one. But does God have a preference? I would say, and there's all of the scholars that I learned from would say it's 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, I just think it stems rather the kind of, it alludes more to the man in the sense of whether he's, again, just.
100%.
Because the thing is, what I'm seeing a lot of, bro, is a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but quite a lot of so-called Muslim men. Look, I'm not going to say no one.
It's the ones that abuse it, they give it the bad name.
Right, but this is what they do, though. They hide under the umbrella of religion.
Of course, yeah.
When there's accountability and because consequence. This is where my issue is.
But that's for the sisters and I guess her wallies or whatever, because in short, the best situation is a woman is not just going in blindly like, oh, well, he's so great. I'm sure he is, love. Do you know what I mean? Like, hopefully you've got some brothers, some uncles, a father, whatever, that can vet this, another man that understands how men work and can chat to this guy and can and to speak to because that's the perfect system of Islam is to hopefully avoid this situation that the woman doesn't go with. Let's say he's going to be a polygamous man, fine. Oh, you were good. You know, do you pray your 5 prayers on time? Yeah. If you don't fear God, right? If you don't fear God, you could do anything to my daughter. Yeah. So I'm not gonna give that to you. So that, again, it goes back to the thing of if the man is on. In fact, I see the future as to why women and men will be entering Islam in the droves. More specifically, women. Is because of it's going to get to a point where they're just so tired as to what is out there on the market and the
I'm
this
tired,
and the that and again, and it's like, is there anybody that like has a higher moral compass and actually sticks to it? For the most part, not perfectly, but sticks to it. And I think that's the reason why people are entering into Islam in response to this whole LGBTQ thing, because people are like, is anybody going to stand up and say what it is? The same thing with the dating and wherever in that world is like looking for partners. Are there any men these days that are going to actually, you know, be? And because Islam is all about the fitra, it's not going to be some foreign concept to them as women. When a real man stands in front of you, she will know. And I'm saying, whenever, you know, if you are married and you're the second, third, fourth wife are always okay entering into the polygamous situation. It's not like they don't know, or it's like, oh, they're like, yeah, okay, fine, I understand it. It's because of the expectation going in. So don't marry a girl and oh yeah, it's me and you to the end. That don't sell her that dream. If it's going to be like that, let her know from the get go. So it's still going to be hurt. It's still going to be incredibly difficult. A lot of my scholars in Senegal even say to get married to 2 at the same time to avoid that.
Right, I see. So
just to get out off the gate, you know, within the first 3 months, we understand what it is. But the minimum is to say, listen, I know how I am as a man. I'm weak, right? I'm made this way. And it's not even necessarily a weakness. It's just how God has made me, right? And I can't live that way. And if I do live that way, there's going to be infidelity. There's going to be cheating. There's going to be lying, disloyalty. I don't even want to get into that situation with you. I'm letting you know from the jump, this is a potentiality. Yeah. And listen, when you're open and honest with women, they respect it. Yeah. I mean, she might say, no, it ain't really for me, but she'll respect you. Yeah. And if she enters it, she'll respect you at the same time. It's a win-win.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, I hear it. It's a concept that we could talk about forever. One thing I will end it with, though, because I read this thing on the internet, and I don't know how true this is in terms of, like, the narration or whatever, but it was how, I think it was I think Ali's wife, Fatima.
Okay.
May God be pleased with them. And she was reciting Quran. Yeah. And the verse came up about polygamy and like multiple wives. Yeah. and she lowered her voice, right? Because she didn't want Ali to hear her. May God be pleased with him. And he kind of like looked at her, turned around to her, smiled, and was just like, you know, obviously this is paraphrasing, but he said something like, you know, you're equal to all of them.
Okay.
In the sense where it's like he felt as if like he loved her that much that he wanted to reassure her. And I don't even know if I'm interpreting, but it's just like
I never heard it before. But I'm not saying I've never heard it before. I just mean that's beautiful. I've never heard it before. Yeah,
like she's reciting and she lowers her voice on that particular verse, and when he hears, he smiles and says, like, there's nothing to worry about, in the sense that you're equal to all of them.
Yeah.
Because he loved her that much that he wanted to reassure that you know, you don't need to worry kind of situation. And I saw that and I was like, that's actually really nice, because that, do you know why it resonated with me? Because it kind of resonates with my mentality.
Yeah, of course. And that's why the beautiful thing about Islam. It's not like 1,000,000% on the good side and the bad side of it. We can't just be giving this polygamy thing out to anybody and be like, yeah, run with it, because like it's gonna go that. But then on the flip side as well, monogamy is a sunnah as well. And if that is, you know, if that's the way that you want to go, if that's the way that you choose to live your life, here is an avenue and examples of it that you can go and do it. Because obviously our conversation was like, what is the best scenario? My personal thing is for the good men out there, and have the capability as well, financial, emotionally, and you lot need to start doing it, because there's sisters out there that unfortunately, because of the lack of good men or the lack of availability of good men, they're just gonna. Some sisters out here, they're getting with non-Muslims. Some sisters out here, zina, because you still have that desire for human intimacy. But if everything out there is just the trash, what if a really good, really polite, Christian guy comes up to you, respectful, what? He's gonna the heart is. And once she falls for him, what are you gonna say then? Because it's difficult then. So that's what I'm saying. The onus is on the Muslim men to step up to the plate, really, and stop playing games.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's a wrap. How long is the video? Hour 20? Yeah, I had a feeling, bro. Thank you very much. You're the first episode back. I hope everyone enjoys this episode. Obviously, comment, like, subscribe. Follow Khaled Siddiq on Instagram, YouTube, same thing.
That's it, yeah.
You're not really active that much on TikTok, are you?
I'm trying to, but I'm old, innit?
It's one of them platforms.
I'm trying to get down with the kids.
Yeah, Khaled Siddiq on YouTube, Instagram, and obviously there's gonna be plenty more episodes, different guests. So yeah, that's a wrap.